What's the cringiest thing you've ever seen a person do in public? Back in high school, I watched a 6'10" friend of mine, yes, from a chess club, stage this elaborate performance, I guess, in the cafeteria at lunch in order to ask out this cute girl. He never once talked to her, only knew her name because they had a class together, but he had a crush, so they were meant to be, or something. Anyways, he came into lunch one day, it's about 2004, with a fedora on and dressed like Guy Fieri, trombone in hand. He made out this big, loud announcement to everyone. I went to a very overcrowded school, 3,000 in my grade alone. This was one of the 8 lunchtimes, so lots of people there, calling for attention. Then he turns to this girl, all, "Jenna, from the moment I saw you, I loved you, blah blah blah," and she starts getting red, looking uncomfortable as fuck. Everyone staring, shaking their head, no every so often. And once my friend was done talking, he lifts his trombone and says that the song was for her and he loved her so much, and started playing Love Song by The Cure on a trombone, badly, in front of everyone, while sort of dancing, I think, but with his height it looked like creepy Slender Man looming thing. About 30 seconds in, she got up and left for the bathrooms, and one of her friends knocked my friend's trombone to the ground and shouted, "What the fuck is wrong with you?" Which led to everyone else basically booing and hissing my friend for a few moments before getting distracted by their lunches. My friend still thought they were meant to be, even though she'd in the opposite direction to avoid him for the rest of school. I was waiting for my clothes at a laundromat and noticed this dorky guy lingering near a very attractive woman. After a few minutes of thinking of the perfect line, he leaned over to her and said, "Laundry day, am I right?" She politely smiled and I had to go wait outside. Worked in retail. Saw a woman change her 4-year-old son's diaper in the middle of a store and did not dispose of the diaper. Literally just left it on the counter. I wanted to vomit. I don't know what was worse, the fact that he was 4 years old with a shitty diaper, or that the mother did not take him into the bathroom to wash him or properly clean him, or herself, or that she left a used diaper full of shit on a counter. I was in the computer lab at the university I was attending one Saturday morning and noticed 2 girls sitting together and another guy sitting a few chairs down the row from them. Periodically, this guy would let out a huge belch, mouth open wide and everything, and would immediately whip his head around to see if the other girls noticed. I don't know if the guy was expecting compliments or for them to be flattered, but the girls just ignored him. He did this once every 5 minutes for about half an hour until I left. In university, as part of my degree in music, I know, I had to take a sight singing class. There was an older guy in the class, mid-40s, who I think was just taking part-time courses out of interest. In class, he'd belt like an opera singer, even for small exercises. One day, we left class in this order: random person with their friend, then opera dude, then me. We're all walking the same way. I then hear them making fun of him, like saying, "Oh my god, he's like, it's horrible." The guy is literally walking 5 feet behind them, and I'm right behind him. He's straight up trying to ignore it, but they just keep going and going. I just wanted to jump in a bush and pretend I hadn't witnessed that. A girl in my high school walks into class one day. "Guys, have you heard anyone talking about me? Has anyone been talking shit about me?" Me. "No, what happened?" Girl. Proceeds to explain how she gave one of her peers a little rub down at his request because he couldn't get an erection, and that she'd been caught in the act by one of the teachers. Me. "Nope, haven't heard anything, and wishing I hadn't asked." Girl. "Okay, thank God, I was afraid that people were gonna spread rumors about me." Classmates, newly arriving. "Why would people spread rumors about you?" Girl. Begins telling story all over again, over and over, until I'm pretty sure the whole room was made aware of the incident. At this anime convention, there are booths selling merchandise. One booth had gangster rap blasting from its speakers. Man, I guess hearing music unleashed everyone's inner gangsta/player whatever. So many awkward teens shaking and bumping their heads along to the music as they walked by, all out of sync with the beat. My description alone will never do it justice. Packed subway car, heavy-set woman gets on. The car is quiet as a seated male says to the woman, "Excuse me, would you like my seat?" Whispering and clearly trying to avoid any attention, the woman responds, "No thank you, I'm fine," and puts her head back down. Guy stands up, drawing even more attention to the scene, and says, "Please, sit down, you're pregnant." With the entire subway car looking, she responds, "I'm not pregnant." So bad. So bad. Went to the beach with my boyfriend's friend and a woman his friend was into. For the first hour or so, it kinda seemed mutual. They flirted lightly, the touch barrier was broken, and we all had a great time. They were drinking pretty heavily, but whatever, beach day. But the drunker they got, the more apparent it was the feelings were not mutual. He got handsier and handsier, and she got meaner and meaner. We ended up going out to dinner before leaving, the four of us, in the middle of a restaurant. And he kept jokingly pawing at her, not okay by the way, and literally begging her to go on a date with him. She, because increasingly frustrated and finally fed up, she told him off, loudly. Basically told him she was too good for him. He should aim lower, nobody like her would ever be with someone like him, and then demanded that he pay for the dinner. My boyfriend and I sat quietly across the table from them, eyes like saucers and trying to pretend we weren't there. Me and my mom had to ride a Greyhound bus from New York to New Orleans for a funeral. And we switched buses a lot on our way there, but we kept getting placed on the same bus with this smelly dude. He wore Jesus shoes and he picked at his feet on the seat of every bus. Ugh. It was gross and his feet stank. It got so bad once we hit Mississippi, some guy stood up and flat out asked the stank dude if he needed some socks. He said no, and some lady said, "Boy, you better take them damn socks." Never again. I was sitting in a restaurant with a couple of friends when 3 people were seated in the booth behind us. These booths were not the kind that you see in some places that completely enclose you so we could see and hear what was going on at the next table. I forget the makeup of that group, but one of them was most definitely a guy, probably between 16 to 20, who seemed very intent on trying to impress his dinner companions and was failing horribly. We sat at the adjacent table, intentionally not looking, but all listening intently to the cringe occurring next to us and trying not to laugh out loud for fear of stopping what had become our dinner show. Our cringy young man had brought with him a pack of playing cards and was attempting to explain a card game to the other 2 people at the table, neither of which seemed particularly interested in playing or learning. It was a game that required speed. He more than once gave them demonstrations of his speed with some amazing quotes such as, "Did you see how I did that? Did you know how I did that? 'Cause I'm quick. I have viper hands." Demonstrates again. See? Viper hands. This went on for probably 10 minutes until the necessity of eating the dinner he had ordered forced him to stop. None of us will ever forget good old viper hands. I was walking through my very busy town center and I noticed this middle-aged couple having quite an intense row. Didn't pay them much attention, but saw the dude was really annoyed at his wife or girlfriend and getting pretty animated. This goes on for a little while and he clearly decides arguing isn't enough and he needs to vent some other way. So he lets out a battle cry and sprints into the road looking for something to hit. Doesn't see any good targets, punches the back of a passing bus, still yelling, and sprints off. A guy once hit on my sister at the dollar store. At first, we thought it was normal. She gets hit on sometimes in odd places if she's dressed nicely or something, but then we saw him walk down the aisle to a girl who was wearing pajamas. Hair was a mess, looked like she just got out of bed, and generally was just unattractive. The guy promptly hit on her, saying the same things he did to my sister. We were hysterical. I guess hitting on random girls at the dollar store was his game. Saw a guy in a band jump off stage and propose to his girlfriend in the crowd. They were close to the stage and so was I, close enough to tell that she gently told him no, and something like, "We'll talk about this later." The band saw it too, and were super awkward about it, but the singer just said into the mic, "You said yes!" So the crowd couldn't tell, and the guy wouldn't be embarrassed. The crowd then exploded with cheers while the guy, who looked dumbfounded, and the girl hugged tightly and started crying. Only a few of us were close enough to see what actually happened, so at least it was only so awkward. Everyone else just kept offering to buy the newly engaged couple drinks. They probably broke up later that night. Yikes. Went to an upscale, classy burlesque show in New York City a few years back with a friend. It was really cool and fun until the bachelorette party came waltzing on in. The bride-to-be was hammered as fuck. It was maybe 8:30, 9 p.m. at the time, and outside of embarrassing herself each time she tried to get on stage, she really should have been removed. Shit was dangerous. Happened even while a sword swallower was doing her thing. She also ended up pissing all over herself and her seat. To be clear, no one else to my knowledge was rowdy or drunk. This was a super classy, mellow place where everyone was eating and having a good time. Not too loud, and it wasn't really even that late at night. I was at the Bristol Renaissance Fair this past weekend and went to see Adam Crack, who does tricks with whips. At one point he asked for a volunteer to help in the performance, and he asked for a manly man. This skinny, dweeby looking kid with a half-grown in beard and awkward mustache stands up and fucking bows in front of the guy. He was promptly ignored, and an adult was picked instead. The trick was having the participant hold a balloon between their legs while he pops it with a whip. I was at a bar with a couple of friends, and the girlfriend of friend A, we'll call him Bonjour because I'm making up the names here, not you. Anyway, Bonjour doesn't seem particularly under the influence at this point, but he's quite reserved in public without standing out as oddly so. In short, a well-adjusted and easygoing man. We're at this bar and Bonjour suddenly pulls his girlfriend's foot onto the table, pulls off her sandal, and then starts kissing her foot. Then he starts sucking on her toes. Between myself and friend B, whom we'd call Liechtenstein, fuck off, I have a foot fetish. Liechtenstein, fuck off, is repulsed by feet. We're both pretty shocked, though. Watching another guy worship a girl's foot was never really my thing. Liechtenstein even apologized to me for that. Later, at the earliest opportunity, I'm honestly not sure why, as he knew about my fetish. Bonjour was really more Liechtenstein's friend than he was mine, though. I got along with Bonjour just fine, but we didn't really have much in common as far as I'm aware. And we didn't spend a lot of time hanging out on our own. Worked at a cabaret for a few years. We're in the basement, at the bottom of the stairs was the box office, and down 2 stairs was the room. This girl apparently just met this guy and they were smitten, like all over each other, smitten. She had the ticket, he did not. We were sold out. I told her he could check in about 30 minutes to see if we had seats. They agree and disappear. 30 minutes later, they come looking and we have no seats. So he goes up the stairs and she was going to the room. She was staring at him as he walked up the stairs and she walked backwards. She didn't see the 2 steps and fell backwards, showing the world she was not wearing anything under her dress. TLDR, girl falls, spread eagle, going commando backwards, down the stairs in hopes to flirt with new boy toy.